We are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to A Speech a Week. Hashtag A Speech a Week. My name is Pippa. I'm your host through this rather marvellous project, if I may say so myself. Thoroughly enjoying it. The main aim of this A Speech a Week, I always say A Speech a Witch. Very Macbeth of me. The purpose of this A Speech a Week is to help me keep my skills in check, but also to help get Shakespeare out there a little bit more. Help people realize that it doesn't have to be this thing, performed very loud and in a doublet and hose and old-fashioned clothes and in a really classical way that is really inaccessible. Shakespeare is the bedrock of all theatre and creativity, in my opinion. Not all creativity, but all theatre kind of stuff, film, telly, all of that jazz. So I really like to talk about it with people and encourage you to lift it off the page, speak these words for yourself, and have your own point of view about some of these characters and speeches. Quite often at school or at drama class or whatever, acting studies, scene studies, you're kind of told that certain characters are just like that. But I really urge you to think for yourself, and hopefully from this A Speech a Week project, you will get that and you will start to develop your own opinions about these characters and explore the truth of these wonderful characters. So, all that being said, I'm just adjusting myself down here. Got my cup of tea to hand. I haven't looked at this segment of the speech yet today. I normally say this just so you know that I'm not here to give you a perfect reading of it. This is a safe space. I see this as a rehearsal room for us to explore together. And the way we normally do it is that I will read through the segment out loud with you. And then what we will do is work through it, read through it again, and actually just dissect the language, dissect the punctuation, very important. Quite often with contemporary theatre, we overlook the punctuation, especially in film scripts. I think there are some writers that really pay attention to it, but we often kind of think it's just stuff to be ignored, when actually it's really, really important. And I've noticed this a lot as I'm working with more of my students, as we're working on contemporary text. You've got to give every bit of punctuation some weight to it. It's important. It's as important as the words. So all of that being said, just flicking to the right segment of the scene. We are on, we're in Act 3, Scene 2, and it's around line 209, I believe. Good friends, sweet friends, let me not stir you up to such a sudden flood of mutiny. Sudden flood of mutiny. Nice. Already. Digging it. So just to fill you in if you are new here, you can speak to me on the live chat. That function is enabled, so everyone will be able to see what you type in there. Share your thoughts, share your feelings, share your questions, share your ideas. We all just generally chip in and give our 2 cents worth. Give our 2 cents worth? That's not the phrase I'm looking for. You know what I mean? We'll put our own input in, and we talk about the words, what we like, what works really well, what we think is a bit sucky, what's actually quite interesting, what could be played differently. So it really is an exploration, and I do encourage you to speak up. Like I said, there's no judgment here, there's no right or wrong, just come and have some fun with us. So all of that being said, just to fill you in on the scene that's been happening, Caesar has been killed by Brutus, Cassius, and a bunch of conspirators against Caesar. And Brutus has just given a speech. This is the funeral of Caesar. Hi, Ernest. Welcome back. Oh, hiya, Gosmisu. Good morning. Oh, what's that? What language is that? How exciting. Oh, Ernest always brings something fresh to these. So Brutus has just addressed the Republic, the plebeians of Rome, and he is kind of trying to justify what he's done, really. He's blaming Caesar's ambition as being the main reason why they murdered him, why they assassinated him. It's because he was too ambitious. He wasn't actually invested in Rome. He was being too selfish, and all he cared about was him becoming like a king and a god of the nation. And Brutus and Mark Antony are both friends with Caesar. However, Mark Antony is kind of more of a wealthier, well-trained orator. And what an orator is essentially is a public speaker. He's able to speak really well. And you can see in the text, if you quickly flip back over the scene, you'll see that Antony's speech is written in verse, whereas Brutus is a lot more free. He's not written in a poetic format at all. And that's a very simple technique that Shakespeare would employ just to kind of help iterate the status of these characters and the intellectual standing as well sometimes, perhaps, but it's up for you to decide. Rosalind says a lot of stuff, not in poetic verse, and she's very smart. So it's just a bit of it just kind of helps influence how you might deliver the text. Brutus is a little bit more, I think, erratic and unsure of his actions. Mark Antony is really confident at speaking. And as you can see, he's just, all of his lines are the green lines. Well, all of his chunks, at least, are the green lines in my complete works here. And we're about to look at this section here. He knows how to work the crowd and work a room. So we've been delving into this. We did part 1, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. That's one of the most famous chunks of text in Shakespeare because it's just perfectly written. And the Mark Antony's ability to get his point across and not manipulate, but persuade the nation and actually totally manipulate the people is absolutely fantastic. It's a lesson in rhetoric. And again, just in case you're not sure, rhetoric is just the art of spoken word. That's how I describe it. So it used to be taught a lot in school. Shakespeare studied rhetoric, for example, the art of public speaking. So we're going to go on to this section now. And he's kind of repeating, he said, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. He's kind of repeating that a little bit here, but he's really touching on the friends thing as we start on this speech. But I'll stop talking about it and I will just read it. He's spent most of the scene really trying to get the plebeians to understand that Brutus is wrong. The conspirators were wrong to assassinate Caesar, and Caesar was actually a good man. He was an honorable man. He was a honest man who turned down a kingly crown 3 times. Does that sound like ambition? No. And so the plebeians are rising up now. They're getting riled up thanks to Mark Antony's genius linguistics. So, like I said, we're on line 209. And I'm just going to read it for you. As I said, haven't read this today, haven't read this out loud. I have done a vocal warm-up, but I might mess it up. Doesn't matter. We're all here to learn. Let's just see what happens, shall we? Enjoy. Good friends, sweet friends, let me not stir you up to such a sudden flood of mutiny. They that have done this deed are honourable. What private griefs they have, alas, I know not. That made them do it, they are wise and honourable, and will no doubt with reasons answer you. I come not, friends, to steal away your hearts. I am no orator, as Brutus is, but, as you know me all, a plain, blunt man that love my friend, and that they know full well that gave me public leave to speak of him. For I have neither wit, nor words, nor worth, action, nor utterance, nor the power of speech to stir men's blood. I only speak right on. I tell you that which you yourselves do know. Show you sweet Caesar's wounds. Poor dumb mouths, and bid them speak for me. But were I Brutus, and Brutus Antony, there were an Antony would ruffle up your spirits and put a tongue in every wound of Caesar that should move the stones of Rome to rise and mutiny. And then the plebeians come in all. We'll mutiny. Plebeian 1, we'll burn the house of Brutus. Plebeian 3, away then, come seek the conspirators. And then Antony says, yet hear me, countrymen, yet hear me speak. And then they pause. Peace, ho, hear Antony, most noble Antony. And then he says this, why, friends, You go to do you know not what, wherein hath Caesar thus deserved your loves? Alas, you know not. I must tell you then, you have forgot the will I told you of. All of them say, most true, the will. Let's stay and hear the will. Antony says, here is the will, and under Caesar's seal, to every Roman citizen he gives. I'll say that again. To every Roman citizen he gives, to every several man, 75 drachmas. Oh, Caesar, most noble Caesar. I'll leave that there for now. There's another little, in fact, well, there is a little chunk extra. Let me just read it. So he's leaving them money, I think it is. And then Antony says, moreover, he hath left you all with his walks, his private arbours, and new planted orchards. On this side Tiber, he hath left them you, and to your heirs forever. Common pleasures, can't see the next line, to walk abroad and recreate yourselves. Here was a Caesar. When comes such another? So that's the chunk we're going to kind of look at today. Mostly the big chunk. We'll see how far we get for time. But this is like genius. If you haven't watched the other videos that we've done about this, go back and watch them. I know they're long, I know it's all that, but this is the kind of work that should interest you if you're an actor that wants to really like tuck in. It's brilliant. It's so brilliant. And it says that it was Japanese, first of all. I didn't say that to people that aren't reading this. Good friends, sweet friends, let me not stir you up to such a floodden of mutiny. To such a sudden flood of mutiny, I can imagine the crowd shifting on their feet and glancing at each other. Don't feel agitated. You feel agitated. So manipulative, so clever, 100%. So I kind of told myself earlier off for saying he's not manipulating them. He is. We've talked about this before. He's very, very, very clever. And in this segment, he's kind of really, I think, sticking in the passive aggressiveness for Brutus and the conspirators. So one of the conditions that Mark Antony could speak at this funeral was as long as he didn't say anything bad about Brutus, Cassius, and all of the conspirators, essentially. And so he's very careful with his words. He never says that they are evil and they have done wrong. He constantly uses the rebuttal of they are honorable men to say that they are honorable, even though what comes before and after what he's saying how honorable they are, when he's saying how honorable they are, that they aren't. Just to go back to the famous chunk, this is an example. The noble Brutus hath told you Caesar was ambitious. If it were so, it was a grievous fault, and grievously hath Caesar paid for it. Answered it. Here under leave of Brutus and the rest, for Brutus is an honourable man, so are they all honourable men. Come I to speak in Caesar's funeral. He was my friend, faithful and just to me, but Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honourable man. And then he goes on to list some other things that Caesar did that were noble, that were brilliant for the country. But then he still says, oh, but of course, that's one thing, but Brutus is an honourable man and says he was ambitious, so we have to believe Brutus. So he's very passive-aggressive, he's very manipulative, and he's very clever not to directly insult Brutus, Cassius, and the conspirators. And he does it here. So, and also actually, just to fill you in if you are watching fresh, the will. He's talking about a will. There's literally a document in Antony's hand of the will that Caesar has written for the people, and he's using it as a prop, as a tool, as a gimmick, perhaps, to really get their attention and annoy the people, really. As we saw at the end there, he shows them and reads them the will, and they then realize that Caesar has left them the whole of the Rome. Oh, lordy. Caesar has left them everything. He has left the people Rome, which completely contradicts why Brutus and the conspirators killed him in the first place. Hence the uprising, hence the talk of mutiny. So working through this from the top then, I just know we've got some people that are coming new to this. I've got new subscribers and things and new people. I'm trying to fill people in, but let's just get on with it. Good friends, sweet friends. He doesn't change his what's the word I'm looking for? His name for them. He doesn't say good friends, sweet Romans. It's friends now. He uses friends twice. And if you're friends with someone, you trust them, you listen to them. They are more than an acquaintance. And now he's really, really tapping into that spring of friendship with these people. Good friends, sweet friends. If you're good and sweet, you're good and sweet. They're nice things to be called. So he's really ingratiating them now. He's really kissing their asses. Let me not stir you up to such a sudden flood of mutiny. So something else to touch on quickly, just before he starts speaking this bit, he has said another chunk of text that's really riled the crowd up. And we can see that because all they are saying is lots of O words and exclamation words. Oh, piteous spectacle. Oh, noble Caesar. I don't think you can really see that, but never mind. Worth a try. Whenever there's an O and an exclamation mark in Shakespeare, it's a sign that there needs to be some sort of passion. It could be anger, it could be love, it could be joy, it could be something else. I don't know. It's up to you to decide. But there is something more exciting going on now. Energy is lifting whenever there's an exclamation mark and a beautiful O. So now he's trying to control the masses. He's got them where he wants them. They're getting riled up. They're getting really pissed off. And now he's saying, let me not stir you up. No, I don't want to do that. But he obviously did. This is what makes it so good, but also so annoying. Someone like Brutus watching this is probably like, damn it, he's so good. Ernest says, I imagine that Leni Riefenstahl was well versed in Julius Caesar, how to sway and lead a crowd with language and image, haunting that the will is repeated. Isn't the will intentionally a double meaning? Yeah, it's called a will. And there's a couple of sonnets where Shakespeare himself plays on this word quite a lot. It's quite annoying, actually. Your will is your will. It's your purpose. It's your drive. It's what you want to happen. And yeah, it's absolutely symbolic of Caesar's will. His true will, according to Mark Antony, was to create Rome for the people and keep it a republic. Interesting. So straight off the bat, Antony's now trying to calm the crowd down. Good friends, sweet friends, let me not stir you up to such a sudden flood of mutiny. So it's a sudden flood of mutiny. Again, Shakespeare sometimes gives you directions. So in the script. So for example, that bit where all the plebeians are like, oh, piteous spectacle, oh, woeful day. It needs to be quite a sudden lift, I would say. Although they are getting peed off throughout the whole scene, Antony is trying to calm them down a little bit now, even though he's trying to rile them up. He's pretending to calm them down, but he actually wants to have the adverse effect. To such a sudden flood of mutiny. A flood of mutiny is an overpowering amount of mutiny, right? So the language there, a flood of something wipes things out, doesn't it? So bear that in mind when you look at Shakespeare. What visual springs to mind when you think of these words? A flood wipes things out. It ruins things. It ruins towns and countries. And that is what he's talking about here. And mutiny as well. He's not actually really talked of mutiny yet. At this point, I don't think, or did he say it at another point? Remind me if he did or not. Ernest also says the triumph of the will was her evil masterpiece. A flood is an unstoppable force of nature, 100%. Great way to put it, an unstoppable force of nature. And I think that's kind of what it needs to start feeling like amongst the actors on the stage. So if you're directing this or you're playing plebeian 1, 2, 3, and 4, you know that you need to start really having some electricity pumping through your veins at this point. And we've got a full stop there. So that also implies to me, in this edition, it's a full stop, that he's not really trying. If there's an exclamation mark, he might be trying more to lower the crowd down a little bit, but I don't believe he is. So there he says, good friends, sweet friends, let me not stir you up to such a sudden flood of mutiny. They that have done this deed are honourable. Full stop. What private griefs they have, alas, I know not, that made them do it. They are wise and honourable and will, no doubt, with reasons answer you. And that's a full stop in my edition there, although it looks like it could have been a comma, but I feel like it should be a full stop. So what does that bit mean? What do we think that bit means? And it says it can destroy and cleanse 100%. And remember, yes, in these days as well, a stream or a river or a flood, I don't know if they would have happened that much because obviously global warming wasn't really a thing back then. And you'd just be building the banks and things. And I suppose, yeah, I'm just trying to think in London, there probably wouldn't have been that many floods unless there was a lot of rainfall. But I imagine the Thames was a lower river than it is today because of global warming and everything. So that's really interesting as well, actually. Just thinking about that, because you'd normally use running water to cleanse and get drinking water and clean your clothes and things like that. So that's what I was just thinking of. Anyway, good point. So what does this next bit mean then? They that have done this deed are honourable. And now he's not just picking on Brutus. Before, he was really alienating Brutus and kind of kept talking about him. In the previous chunk of text, he finally mentioned Cassius and Casca, but now he isn't mentioning Brutus yet. He will, but he hasn't yet. He's speaking about them as a collective. So interesting. He's starting to get them to realize there are more than one of them. Therefore, maybe we do need a flood of mutiny. Very clever. So clever. Ernest has also he puts the onus on the conspirators, says they will no doubt have good reasons for what they did when he knows that they do not. Exactly. Hoisted on their own petard. What does that mean? Petard. Hoisted on their own petard. Is that a Navy term? Interesting. So exactly what Ernest has just said. What private... they that have done this deed are honourable. So he's going back to that kind of anchor of his previous argument. Brutus is an honourable man. Brutus, as we know, is honourable. He keeps reiterating this. And now he's come back to that, but he's using it collectively for the conspirators after completely combating their reasons for doing this and getting the empathy and sympathy from the plebeians on his and Caesar's side. So they've done it. Who have done this are honourable men. What private griefs they have, alas, I know not that made them do it. So what went on behind the scenes, what grief they had with Caesar, what beef they had with Caesar, Mark Antony doesn't know of. I don't know. I don't know what they had. I don't know what problems were going on. And it's not just what private griefs they have, I know not that made them do it. It's what private griefs they have, alas. So alas is an exclamation. It's kind of a cry out. And again, you can deliver it however you like, but it's in there for dramatic effect. Alas, for God's sake, why? Anything like that. Try slotting it in and see how you would say something like that and then replace it with alas. What private griefs they have, alas, I don't know. Alas, God knows. Okay, I know not that made them do it. They are wise and honourable again, and wise again. He's spoken about wisdom quite a bit as well, I think, unless I'm absolutely making that up. A wise and honourable. I feel like that was there somewhere. Well, I might have made that up. They are wise and honourable and will, no doubt, with reasons answer you. So he's even now planting the seed. We talk a lot about Mark Antony planting the seeds throughout his little monologues and then reaping them afterwards. So what he's saying here is like, I don't want you to get too riled up, everyone. But if you actually go and ask them, I'm sure they'll just give you a really simple, honest answer. No. How can they justify it? How will the plebeians actually really listen? And how will it be? Again, in this day and age, people react differently. It's a lot more visceral. There's a lot more violence around, probably, even though there's lots of violence around today. There's less societal constraints. These people would probably be starting to sharpen their pitchforks and get ready to to go and not even ask questions. The time for words has passed, you know. Mark Antony's used all the words to ensure that. Then what else have we got here from Ernest? He puts said that, you know, when he knows that they do not. Yep, so clever. Hoisted on Guy Fawkes. Blown up by your own bomb. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, Brutus is, I suppose, the kind of Guy Fawkes symbol, image, person, character in this. Really, really interesting. I'm gonna look up that phrase though, because I haven't actually heard it, and that surprises me because I was really into Guy Fawkes, loved all that stuff. Like the research of it and V for Vendetta, as I mentioned in one of my newsletters, one of my favorite films. So yes, and will no doubt with reasons answer you. So in that line alone, like there's quite a few commas, semicolons, and then we've got that full stop. There's lots of little breaths, and I always try and honor them, and you can probably see that. So let me just read it again and notice where the commas are. It might be different in your edition, but this is what is in my edition. Just as a general, do try and get the ROC Arden copy, because they normally have the best kind of take on it, because they actually act Shakespeare. What private griefs they have, alas, I know not that made them do it. They are wise and honourable, and will, no doubt, with reasons answer you. So I was exaggerating them, but could you see how I was kind of catching my breath? They will, no doubt, with reasons answer you. It's worth trying it all like that. Whenever you're reading Shakespeare or learning to act Shakespeare, get those bits in. It will impact you. And for me, it makes Mark Antony feel more out of breath and perhaps a little bit panicky or perhaps a little bit emotional. So it's a clue. It's a clue to help you. And it's an action to help you. Punctuation isn't just something written on the script. It's an action. It's a direction for you to take. Especially in Shakespeare, don't ignore it. Steal away your hearts. I come not, friends. So here we go. And then moving on. So I think all that makes sense. We've kind of covered that. And yes, Ernest did watch V, a very good watch. Well, sorry, I put words in your mouth then. A good watch. I think it's a very amazing, brilliant film. I love it. Based on a graphic novel as well, I believe. Hugo is just, anyway, okay. Got to stop geeking off about that film. So moving along, after that full stop, the next section comes in. I come not, friends, to steal away your hearts. I am no orator, as Brutus is, but, as you know me all, a plain, blunt man. Excuse me. There's a comma there. It's not a full stop. I just needed to sneeze. A plain, blunt man that love my friend, and that they know full well that gave me public leave to speak of him. So now he's absolutely freaking covering his tracks and trying to play the I'm modest and humble card. So annoying. So many actors do this actually. They do the, oh no, I can't. Oh no, darling, no, I'm rubbish, you know, all that sort of drama. I feel like he's given us that now, a bit of drama here. I'm no orator, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm public speaking. Yes, you do, you clever little sneaky fish. He's really, really playing it up now. Brutus, if I were the conspirators and Brutus, I would just be looking at him like, you absolute piece of work. You absolutely know exactly what you're doing, and you are completely being a backstabbing bastard here, even though they do have opposing ideas and all of this jazz. He's essentially saying, I come not, friend. I've not come here today to steal you away from Brutus and the conspirators. Yes, he has. And steal away your hearts, to draw on your heartstrings, to capture your hearts. I am no orator. I'm no good at speaking in public like Brutus is. But as you know me all, they probably don't. Let's remember, Mark Antony was a wealthy kind of public figure in Rome. He probably wasn't best buds with everyone. That's why he's doing all of this lecturing in the best sense right now. So you all know me. They probably don't, but they probably feel like they do a little bit now because he's given them a whole show to get to know him. You all know me, a plain, blunt man. I'm a boring, say it like it is type of guy. Modern translation there. That loves my friend, that loves my buddy. You all know me. I can't speak in public. I just get to the point. I cut through the fluff, and I really love my friends. It's not friends though, is it? It's friend Caesar, the dead guy with knife wounds all over himself. And then we got a semicolon, and that they know full well that gave me public leave to speak of him. And those that gave me the opportunity to speak publicly about him know all of this about me. They know I'm a bad orator. They know that I love my friend, blah, blah, blah. So they knew what they were kind of setting themselves up for. Now he's kind of pushing back a little bit and saying, not my fault. They knew what I'd probably say, and I'm not trying to raise mutiny, but you should probably, you know, ask them some questions after we're done here, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And it says, what a stellar example of oblique rhetoric. Oblique, how do you say it? Oblique. Googling it. And this is something I did quite a lot in the A Sonnet a Day project, and also still this project. I just Google words. If you don't know words in Shakespeare, it's not good enough to simply guess and hope you're correct. Look up the literal, direct, absolute meaning of it, so you know, and also look at the Latin origin of the word, because I do think that can just also help visualize and articulate the words nicely. And so Ernest has used this word, oblique. Yeah, I think oblique. According to Google, I've said it correctly. But I always read the phonetics, and yeah, oblique, not oblique. Neither parallel nor at a right angle to a specified or implied line. Slanting, denoting any case other than the nominative or vocative. Brilliant. And interesting, actually, because I immediately thought of oblique muscle in your abdomen, because I'm into fitness and all of that sort of stuff. And the way that sits in your muscle layout is on a kind of slant, which is why it's called oblique in your muscles, because like it says here, neither parallel nor at a right angle, it's slanting. Interesting, isn't it? And so also, just to add to that, it's a gut muscle, it's a stomach muscle, it's at your core. So all of this rhetoric, like Ernest has just said, is a stellar example of oblique rhetoric. It's gut stuff. It comes from the core of Mark Antony. So interesting how these things all connect. Ernest says, hoisted on their own petard was in Hamlet as well. Yes, okay. Think it was just me that attributed it to Fawkes, although it did happen that way. Brilliant, thank you. Oh, I'm looking forward to spotting that bit in Hamlet now. Amazing, thank you so much. So really interesting, but do you see how looking up words can really help you remember that? I'm never going to forget that now, because I know that the oblique muscle is on an angle, and therefore it means slanting, and therefore when I read it or see it ever again, I'm going to know that oblique means what it means. So there you go, always look in the dictionary. So that bit is just absolute genius. And that they know full well that gave me public leave to speak of him. Full stop. Moving along then. For I have neither wit, is going on about self-deprecating here. For I have neither wit, nor words, nor worth, action, nor utterance, nor the power of speech to stir men's blood. I only speak right on. So now again, he's kind of trying to detach himself from the emotional state he's managed to rile the crowd up into. And he's saying that I'm just a right on guy. I'm just blunt. I'm just direct. I'm just to the point. But of course, the entire rhetoric that we've seen of him has been everything but that. He has been indirect and perverse in everything that he has said. And he has had an ulterior motive in pretty much everything he's said. By whipping out the will, it's dramatic. By revealing the wounds of Caesar, revealing his body, showing everyone the blood, by giving that lovely demonstration of emotion. Where is it? Bear with me, my heart is in the coffin there with Caesar, and I must pause till it come back to me. So as I was saying, Brutus was a little bit of a knobhead. Literally, he knows exactly what he is doing here. So he's trying to, like I said, detach himself, but also now trying to remove the fact that the plebeians are upset from him. It's just their passion that's been riled. It's nothing to do with me. I don't speak like that. I have no worth. I have no ability in the power of speech. I've got no wit. I'm not very clever. I don't have a very good, what's the word I'm going to say? What's it called? I don't have much vocabulary. That's the word I was looking for. Action, nor utterance, nor the power of speech. He's really just trying to make out like he is like rubbish at this and worthless. Yeah, Ernest says, knows how to play the self-deprecating card. Absolutely. And it's brilliant. It's annoying, but brilliant. And Brutus, depending on how you want to play Brutus, if you're playing Brutus, could either be absolutely, you know, getting really nervous and thinking, oh, thanks, Mark, for trying really hard to calm them down. I know it's not you. Or he could be like, I see right through you. You know, like a kind of Mean Girls, Regina George, kind of like, I see what you're trying to do, kind of thing. Up to you. Ernest says, I'm just a simple country lawyer, when in reality, he's a legal genius. Exactly. It's a really common thing that you see. And comedians do it quite a lot as well, actually, this kind of whole self-deprecation thing to help you lower your status to the level of the people that you're talking to get them on your side more. It's a really common rhetoric tool. And like I said, loads of actors do it. They was just, oh no, they won't want me back again. Oh no, I'm sure they've had enough of me there. Oh no, I did a terrible job of that. Oh no, yeah, it happens all the time. So yeah, notice you might see it in work, your normal work or whatever, someone doing the whole self-deprecating thing, but actually being very clever about it. Not necessarily a bad thing. It's just it's a tool, isn't it? It's a tool to play the game. And Anthony is absolutely doing it here. And again, he's mentioned twice in this section, stir you up. So look for repetition and why and when it is used. At the beginning, he says, let me not stir you up to such a floodden, I keep saying floodden, to such a sudden flood of mutiny. And then later on, he says, I have neither wit, nor words, nor worth, action, nor utterance, nor the power of speech to stir men's blood. I only speak right on. Stir, if you stir men's blood, you're stirring the pot. We've all heard of that. Well, maybe you haven't, but it's quite a common thing. Or if you're stirring the pot or stirring it up, you're stirring up the drama. You're trying to get our blood boiling. I'm picturing like literally a big pot under a fire. If you're stirring that in, you're trying to mix it and make something of it. And that's absolutely what he's doing. So it's a perfect way. It's a perfect verb for him to use in this speech twice. I only speak right on. And now how short that is as well. We've got the self-deprecation, and then after that semicolon, I only speak right on. If you're right and you're on, it's better than being wrong and off. Shakespeare uses oppositions very, very cleverly. So if you're ever in doubt about something, what's the opposite of what he's saying there? I only speak wrong off. No, Brutus only speaks wrong off. Literally just translating that, Anthony is saying, I speak right on. I am correct and I'm switched on. To me, that is just a nice use of language and a good choice of words from Shakespeare there. And then he goes on again to push himself away from the plebeians' reactions to everything he's just said. He says, I tell you that which you yourselves do know. I tell you that which you yourselves do know. You know this. You know, when you don't get a sum right in school or something and your teacher's like, you know the answer, and they're breathing that belief into you. You do know, come on, you can, you do know this. I'm kind of picturing that as well. You know this, everyone, come on. It's all you, not me. Very clever again. Sneaky, sneaky, Anthony, sneak, sneak. Proper Loki vibes going down. And then he carries on. I tell you that which you yourselves do know. Show you sweet Caesar's wounds. Poor, poor dumb mouths, and bid them speak for me. So that, I think, is the mouths of the wounds, isn't it? The kind of holes, the lips, the circular lips of the stab wounds within him. So he's again now, like he did in the previous chunk in part 3 that we looked at, he's starting to Or maybe that should technically be part 4, shouldn't it? Anyway, he's starting to get them to think about the visceral, physical side of Caesar's murder and death again. He's talking about the wounds. Poor, poor dumb mouths. Poor, poor silent mouths. These wounds cannot speak anymore because they've killed him, and bid them speak for me. All he's done is show them, and again, he's covering his tracks a little bit here. All I've done is show you the body of Caesar and allowed the wounds to speak for me. We all know that's not true. He's done far more than that. He's put on a show, an absolute spectacle for the people. And then we got full stop there. Moving along, brings Brutus back into the game, back into play. But were I Brutus and Brutus Antony, there where an Antony would ruffle up your spirits and put a tongue in every wound of Caesar that should move the stones of Rome to rise and mutiny. Right, here we go then. So it's a weird analogy, but also a really clever one, and quite gross. I think it is quite gross, because when you think of tongues, you think of put a tongue in every wound of Caesar. I don't know about you, but I wasn't picturing it like so they can speak. It's like licking the wound. Do you know what I mean? It sounds a bit weird, but I think it is really clear what he's saying. But initially, my initial reaction is to be like, what? So let's stop and think about it. Hey, Rodney. Rodney's here. MA as Matlock. What's that? What does that mean? Oh, I don't know what you mean. Have I missed something? I'm thinking of Murdoch, because I mentioned Loki. I'm thinking about Marvel now. I saw it as the wound speaking. Oh, good. See, Ernest initially thought it was the wound speaking, but I was like, what? Interesting, isn't it? But there's proof that we all think differently. So do the work to make sure you've got a really clear image of what is being said here, so that you do understand. Oh, it's an American TV reference. Damn it. Yeah, I don't watch a lot of American. EL's country lawyer reference. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I'll have to Google it. I'll look it up on YouTube. Amazing. So, yes. So just to reiterate what he's saying here then, I tell you that what you know. I show you Caesar's wounds and the poor, poor dumb mouths, and bid them to speak for me on my behalf. So I wish they could speak for themselves, really, so that I wouldn't have to. That's what I translate that to. But if I were Brutus, and if Brutus was me, there were an Antony would ruffle up your spirits. He's kind of saying here that Brutus would be doing what I was doing, I think, if he were me. But of course, he isn't you. He isn't you, Mark. Would ruffle up your spirits. So if you ruffle someone up, if you rough someone up is kind of a modern way to say it, but if you ruffle someone up, you rile them up, you stir the pot. Ernest agrees with Rodney. Right on target, Rodney. Matlock, yes. Any other Americans watching this back, be sure to agree. Well, to comment if you agree or not. Would ruffle up your spirits and put a tongue in every wound of Caesar that should move the stones of Rome to rise and mutiny. So going back again to this analogy of stones and wood, there's a lovely bit where Antony says, you are not wood, you are not stones, but men. And being men, hearing the will of Caesar, it will inflame you, it will make you mad. So he's already kind of touched on the idea that we're human beings. We feel, we have a heart, we express things, we have pain, we have love, we feel all of this stuff. Now he's kind of coming back to that analogy just briefly, but I just think it's quite interesting. The repetition of that, not in the same chunk, but in the same scene, that should move the stones of Rome to rise and mutiny. So what he's saying here is that even the stones, even the floor we are walking on Rome, would be ruffled up if we switch places by what Antony is believing, by what Brutus is believing. So now he's kind of involving Brutus in the uprising, in the mutiny. And if stones can mutiny and can rise up and ruffle up and be spirited enough to create a battle, a civil war, Men bloody well should be as well. So again, although he's not saying, he's kind of saying here, like, don't do it. But he's also saying, but if stones can do it, you're not stones. I'm sure you can muster up the strength to do this too. And Rome, like as well, it's like the bedrock of Rome, isn't it? It's like kind of saying, I'm just trying to think of another reference, but like the Statue of Liberty, for example, just because that's like an actual physical representation in the statue. It's kind of saying New York herself, like the Statue of Liberty herself would rise up and mutiny against whoever was hating on New York, for example. The iconic Roman road rising up. Yeah, definitely. All roads lead to Rome, and they're certainly rising up now. And yeah, that's what it is. He's trying to turn the stones into street fighting men. It's a bit like, as well, I'm just trying to think of another visual. You know, in Harry Potter, in the final films, Professor McGonagall, this is your school, you must protect it. I can't do Scottish accent to save my life. I'm working on it. I have been trying, but that was definitely Irish, or something else. And the statues jump down and they come to protect the school. I'm kind of picturing that, like the ground itself would rise and everything around us would rise in Caesar's honor. So come on, let's all do it. So yeah, really, really interesting. So let me just read that bit again. But were I Brutus and Brutus Antony, there were an Antony would ruffle up your spirits and put a tongue in every wound of Caesar that should move the stones of Rome to rise and mutiny. If Caesar's wounds could speak, they would encourage you to do this, to rise up. Rise up when you're living on your knees, you rise up. All of that. Your British accent is spot on. Love it. Oh dear. Thank God I've got something right, hey. So yeah, I mean, and that's kind of it. And then the plebeians say, we'll all mutiny. We'll burn the house of Brutus. Crazy, isn't it? It's absolutely crazy. He's got them on side. And yet he's still trying to stop them. You know, when there's like, when you really want to do something and someone keeps, or you're trying to get on with some work, or you're reading a book, but your spouse keeps coming in and distracting you and asking you questions, and you're like, okay, I'm just trying. And then you kind of like all of a sudden go for it, or you're trying to go for a run, or you're about to start something physical like a race or a match, but things keep getting in the way. You get more and more riled up. I feel like that is exactly what Mark Antony is doing here. He's kind of like, oh, but wait, one more thing. Oh, one more thing. And he does it again here. Yeah, hear me, countrymen, hear me. Just let me speak a little bit longer. And then they do. So I think he's really testing now how much he's got them in his hand, the palm of his hand here. Peace ho, here Antony, most noble Antony. What, friends, you go to do, you know not what. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. Beautiful example of rhythm in Shakespeare. Wherein hath Caesar thus deserved your loves? Alas, you know not. I must tell you then, you have forgot the will I told you of. So he's kind of saying here, what have you forgotten about? Why are you acting on this? You don't even know yet the full reason as to why you're feeling this passionate yet, do you? What have you forgotten about? The will. You still, and on top of everything I've said, you still haven't read the will. So it's so clever, so clever. He came to bury Caesar, but buries Brutus instead. Exactly. You could kind of maybe picture this as a little bit of a satanic ritual where he's bringing Caesar back up from the dead, maybe, just as a creepy alternative way to maybe visualize this scene. That's kind of what he's doing. He's rising spirits. He's conjuring the spirits, like Lady Macbeth. Come you spirits that tend on mortal thoughts, all of that. He's really, he knows exactly what he's doing. Rodney says he wants to ensure Brutus has no political future, if any future. Yeah. Gosh, so dramatic, isn't it? And this is why, again, I'm so passionate about Shakespeare. Often in contemporary writing, We've got loads of monologues and plays about tiny little things, some big things, obviously, very important things, but also the stakes and the dramatic tension in Shakespeare is pretty much unrivaled, I think, in a lot of contemporary writing. Really, really interesting. Ernest says yes, and he inspires and validates the anger of the crowd. 100%. Yeah, he's riling them up. Then he's saying, don't be riled up. But then he's like, but you know how you feel. Like, you do know what's happened. So if you are feeling passionate about it, that's fine. But just wait a minute, you've forgotten something else. Here's something else that is going to drive you mad. And remember, he's planted that seed earlier on in the scene. So where he was saying, I mentioned it earlier, you are not wood, you are not stones, but men, and being men, hearing the will of Caesar, it will inflame you, it will make you mad. So he's already done that whole manipulation thing that abusers do. You don't want to do that, do you? No, you don't want to do that, do you? You don't want to do that, do you? Or you do want to do that, don't you? You do want to go to the shop for me and buy me loads of stuff and do that. Yeah, that'd be really good. Thank you. Oh, what a lovely idea you've just had. It's brilliant rhetoric, but it is also something I've been watching a lot of true crime dramas lately. It's something that people do to manipulate other people. Really, really interesting. And so now this is why I picked up the whole rock thing, the stones thing again. I think he is calling back like a comedian does again. Rhetoric, comedian, public speaking, that's what they do. He's calling back to something he's mentioned earlier to remind you and make you feel clever. It's a really simple thing that is often done in writing, actually, in plays and films and comedy shows. There is a callback. And then when you get that joke, you feel like, oh, I got that. I remember he said that earlier. It's that kind of thing. So great ad lib, Pippa. Thank you. So it's brilliant, isn't it? It's absolutely brilliant. Moving on then, just to round off. So the final, I mean, I don't think it needs much translation. Everyone's saying the will. Oh my God, yeah, let's stay and hear that. We totally forgot. God, so stupid. Anthony says, here is the will. And again, here is the will. Remember, he'd be surrounded by people, showing it off, flashing it around. Here is the will. I've lost the line. And under Caesar's seal, so very simple writing. He would be an under Caesar's seal. So let me open it. I'll open the seal. I'll break the seal. Another one. Excuse me. Did you come up with that extemporaneously? I did. Spontaneous fun. Little end joke there, but that's a callback as well. So Ernest mentioned a couple of times ago about the word extemporaneously, and I was like, what does that mean? And then he explained to me, and now it's becoming a little bit of a joke. We're calling back to the previous lines we've done. That's exactly what Mark Antony is doing here. So yeah, the demonstration. Here is the will. I've lost what I did use for the will. Let's use this bit of paper I've got. Here is the will, and under Caesar's seal. Oh, he could take as long as he wants here. Open it. Oh, still not there. I've got to open it more. Right? Could take his lovely, lovely time here. And under Caesar's seal, to every Roman citizen he gives, to every several man, 75 drachmas. Most noble Caesar will revenge this death. O royal Caesar. Then Antony says, hear me with patience. Peace, ho. Moreover, he hath left you his walks, his private arbours, and new planted orchards. On this side Tiber, he hath left them you, and to your heirs forever. Common pleasures, to walk abroad and recreate yourselves. Here was a Caesar. When comes such another? Never, never. We are never going to have such a noble man lead us, even though he wasn't a leader. He was a leader. When he's asking them a question here, and he wants them to speak up. And then we have to just round it off here. I didn't read it earlier. But the plebeians now are really losing their shit. They're like, yo, let's get fire. Let's burn everything down. Let's revolt. I'm thinking back to, actually, Ernest, you mentioned this the last time, beware the Ides of, what was it, January 6th or something, when the White House was stormed by people who thought it was right to do that and take back Congress and take back, what's the word? I was about to say domestics. That's so not the word. What is it? Politics. I'm watching Snowpiercer at the moment. They talk about it all the time. What is it? What is it called? What is it? What's the word I'm looking for? Take back Anyway, also like for me as an English reference, because I know I've got lots of Brits that watch this too. I'm thinking back to the London riots in August, many years ago now. I think it was 2011, 2010. It was the year it was a few days after my dad died. The riots that broke out. That's what's happening now. So look at contemporary visions and contemporary examples of what is going on here. They're saying, go fetch fire, pluck down benches, pluck down forms. Let's loot things. Let's riot. Let's break stuff down. Yeah, that's what he's doing here. And then exit plebeians and the body. Antony. So Antony's meant to maybe be alone, or this could be an aside. We can decide. Now let it work. Mischief, thou art afoot, that thou what course thou wilt. Sorry, take thou what course thou wilt. That, to me, tells me that Mark Antony knew exactly what he was doing, and he was absolutely manipulating absolutely everything, and probably isn't even that upset about Caesar's body and stuff. He's actually just putting on a show just to really rub it in Brutus's face. Maybe. I mean, he's obviously upset, otherwise he wouldn't be doing all this, but everything was carefully, not necessarily pre-thought out, but as he was doing it, he knew exactly what he was doing, especially at that end. I'm no orator. I've got no worth. I don't know what I'm doing with words. I just say it like it is. Bullshit, Claxon. He knows exactly what he's doing. And in this aside, now let it work, mischief. Thou art afoot. Take thou what course thou wilt. He's literally there just going, mic drop. Off you go, mischief. That's like, if I was going to direct it in a contemporary format, that's exactly how I'd have Mark Antony leave the frame and finish off there. So there it is. There's a little bit more to the scene, but I want to leave it on that couplet because I think that is just, well, it's not even a couplet, but on that ending, it's just beautiful. Did I explain or mansplain? I think you explained, and then I Googled. I dictionaried. In case you didn't know, mansplaining is when, oh, never mind. Very good. We do have a good laugh. So there you have it. And I'm going to round it off there for Julius Caesar. I mean, we might come back to another scene at another point. But I think it's time. We've done, I think, 4 or 5 of these on Julius Caesar now. It's been really, really interesting. And I have to say, it's made me fall in love with this play even more. I know it's some of yours favorites. There's so much brilliance in it, and symbolic genius and rhetorical genius. And it's just delightful. Delightful to read. It's a proper, to me, this scene in particular is a total soap opera scene with much bigger stakes, but it could totally be done in some sort of Hollyoaks or EastEnders, or I don't know, an American kind of sitcom, not sitcom, but soap opera kind of style, I think, with all this passive aggressive bitchiness, manipulation, abuse, really. You could go that far. Did you see the snow photos? Yes, I did. Anton. Hey, Anton, my Bristol friend. Thank you for your great content. Very enjoyable. Thank you, Anton. Anton and I used to juggle. Fun fact, I'm a juggler. Good to see you. I hope you and Auntie are really, really good. And yes, Ernest, I did see the snow photos. I know I haven't replied yet. Bear with me. Amazing. I couldn't actually quite believe how snowed in you are, but I hope you're enjoying it, even though it can be an absolute pain in the ass. Yes, by far my favorite read and reread. Great stuff. Yeah, definitely. And I think you can get Ben Wishaw's Brutus's version of Julius Caesar available online. One of my students said that she watched it recently, doing some Portia research. And yeah, Ben Whishaw plays Brutus, and I think he's a really good, really well cast Brutus in that. So yeah, I'm definitely going to watch that over the next few days and enjoy it again, because it's been a while since I've seen Caesar. So there we have it. Let's leave it there. Really, really great to see all of you. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. It means the world. Do subscribe to my newsletter if you haven't done so yet as well. You can also, if you are an actor, you can book me for one-to-one coaching. All of that information is below in the description. And I can only contribute some photos. That's fine too, Rodney. You can send me some pictures of your... I want to see your dog and your vegetable patch for sure. Yeah, anyway, be really good to see you next week. I'll announce what we're going to do next week, hopefully on Friday. I'm trying to get in the habit of doing that. It's just not happened yet. And yeah, thank you again. I'm waffling, so I'm going to go. Lots of love. Goodbye. Thank you so much.